Hello, hello there, guys. How are we all doing today? We are having a lovely day of Challengers Division so far. Plenty of games to be seen at this current time, but obviously we have got Neon Rangers versus Monte Carlo here on Overpass. But what are your initial thoughts going into this one, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I've said about a lot of these previous games, it is the opening fixture for both of these teams, so they are fully clean slate 0-0 right now, and it's really exciting to see how these teams do, sort of what changes they've made, how they're looking. Obviously, Monte Carlo, they were in Masters last season, they went 8-0, didn't have the best playoffs, they went 1-1 there. They did make it to the quarterfinals, but obviously it's still enough to get promoted for them. But it's going to be interesting to see how they do fare against the Challengers Division teams. We obviously got to watch POLIGON yesterday, and in general they looked good, but they just sort of fell a bit flat near the end against the Eternal Fire Academy. But yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting to see how these sort of teams who did get promoted, these new faces that we get to see, and just sort of how they all perform. And I feel like the opening game is going to be a great indicator of that.
And obviously, you know, a couple of days ago when we were doing the research on these two teams, Monte Carlo, we were very surprised at the fact that they went 8-0 in the regular season, and then I feel like they felt, obviously, as you said, a little bit flat, but I feel like they're here for a reason. They're in this Challenger division, and they're certainly going to try and show off their capabilities, and I think it should be a good one. Obviously, Overpass being a map that I feel like a lot of teams can thrive on, and we get to talk about the AWPers as well, which is always a nice thing. I feel like the AWPers certainly have a lot of standing here in these games, but we are just going straight into it. We are going to be seeing Monte Carlo starting on that CT side, so they've got that slight advantage. Obviously, hopefully the heads-up display will be sorted very soon. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, but it's interesting because both these teams did come from Masters, obviously, last season, so they're sort of on the same playing fields, but already a huge, quick burst into the B site. The kills are all going the way of Neon Rangers.
That is an excellent execute there. Couple flashbangs over, and that's when they just send the players out. Monster, oh, from the heavens. Exovert, an easy kill there onto CJ.
Somnium has found himself one in this round, but only 6 points of health. Surely nothing more really can be done. I really like the execute though from Neon Rangers. They had a decent amount of util. Two players obviously did have that, and then they just sort of burst into the site very quickly.
Yeah, it seemed as though there was nothing wrong with it. Somnium has been spotted once again, and Exovert gonna go hunt him down. Somnium surely not getting out of this one alive. Oh, a jumping one tap. Although he was 6 HP, Exovert still finishing it in style with the headshot. But a very nice start here. I feel like Monte Carlo weren't really ready for that aggression there, especially from Exovert, finding 3 kills. Obviously, the final one being on the saving player. But still, those 2 openers really important there. And it really shut Monte Carlo down. But they're certainly going to have a lot to say in this one, as they have decided to force. The Deagles are in play, accompanied by CJ's 5-7. Love to see where that's going to be played in.
Yeah, I actually love this from Neon Rangers. They have obviously wanted to get out as many rifles as possible, but rather than going for the AKs, they went for the Galils and just sort of optimized utility. Obviously, it doesn't look as impressive as it was at the start of the round, but they had a decent amount of util, which is always great to see on these sort of forced buys. Yeah, I feel like you see all these weaker full buys. You always tend to see these teams prioritizing the AKs, and always the util is a bit lackluster, but Monte Carlo haven't very limited themselves. Neon Rangers could just win on the utility usage.
Yeah, and I think as well it is nice to see. Sometimes you see a little bit of kind of a mix. You see a couple AKs, some Galils, maybe a MAC-10, and it's fairly split. But it seems as though the team dynamic here for Neon Rangers is they all have that same kind of core principles. You know what, we'll bring out the weaker weapons. Yes, it's a Galil, it's not quite an AK, but still has the right firepower, especially in the right hands as well. But I think the Galils certainly can make it work, and having util on all these players. Look, we still got 4 smokes remaining here for Neon Rangers, so they can even still sell a fake.
Yeah, look at Monte Carlo. They got 4 players towards this A site.
This is going to be dangerous. Higlane just jump spotting here, surely going to sell a little bit of a fake. Somnium should not be expected this close. And look where CJ is as well. Very ready for this trade. The flash will come through. Somnium will be blinded by it. Oh, Higlane finds one, and CJ with the 5-7 at close range has got a second, but the third not coming through. Lightning very quick there with the scout getting those double kills. Oh, there's a player out towards truck. They could deny the bomb plant here. Oh, and it's all on AO spamming in the smoke, but the bomb goes down. And now this is looking frightful here for Monte Carlo.
So much damage there. The last bullet that Exeter was able to ring out did dink PingQ down. Lightning, great positioning. He's going into bank. Surely no way going to be able to lose this round now. Bomb is not planted for him, but he does still find the kill on the crossing player. A great effort there from Monte Carlo, you have to say. Weaker weapons, very minimal utility, but just the gamble was perfectly timed and perfectly called.
I think in another round, it's clear that the calling's working for them. Although not finding the success of the round, if we keep this calling going for Monte Carlo when they are on the rifles, I feel like they can do a great job. Straight away forcing back into it, and I like this call. The money for Neon Rangers, next to nothing. Amoro with the only real kind of funding in the bank. So if Monte Carlo can win this one, Neon Rangers certainly going to be having a weak buy here. Early Molotov towards barrels, forcing this player out in the open. It is PingQ going to try and take some early aggression monster, but does just smoke it off instead.
Yeah, this is definitely a real big risk here for Monte Carlo. Because the Overpass is a CT side favoured map. They don't want to give up too many rounds to the T side, and already we could be seeing Neon Rangers find 4, but there is a flank coming on from Hig Lane.
It's a nice one. The thing is, though, obviously, if he takes this kill onto Exeter, might not have as much impact, and that's exactly what he's questioning here. PingQ trying to find a stray bullet to connect to the head of one of these players, and Exeter... Oh, no! He was on the flank! Hig Lane spotted him, but Exeter stayed tucked. That is so unfortunate.
And surely Neon Rangers are going to be aware that the fact that he's flanked, they're going to be pretty aware that he's clear.
Yeah, exactly. Surely some rotations are going to need to come through here for the CTs, especially with the opening and closing of that comm door. Neon Rangers have gone silent, but still gambling here towards B. And currently the correct call. 35 seconds. PingQ spotted one. Gets a heavy chunk of damage onto S-Fade. And now the flashes coming over. These 4 defenders trying to do their best here, but the Galils are doing a lot of work. 22 seconds remaining, and oh, Somnium finally shows himself. 4 HP on Fade.
It's going to be such a tough clutch to win. Yes, he's up against the Scout. I don't know if Somnium realizes how low Fade is.
Oh, he switched to an MP9. I feel like it's potentially the best weapon for it. Fade doesn't even get the 1 tap, but he still takes him down. A perfect spray and 4 bullets there, and Neon Rangers, they keep their victory streak going.
And it's such a tough call to make again for Monte Carlo. Already they've given up a lot of rounds. Are they going to force into it again? Because only 1 player survived from Neon Rangers, and yes, they are. I like the idea, and the buys are going to keep on being better and better due to the loss bonus continuing to increase. But the issue is they can really keep on losing some rounds here. They can lose 5, Fred, if they lose this one.
I remember a couple seasons ago, I want to say it was Acred, but I'm not 100% sure. We casted a game and we saw this type of situation. I believe it was on Nuke. And obviously we were questioning as to why, but when it works out, it completely broke the money of their opponents. So Monte Carlo potentially thinking a little bit more into the future of this half, but the future could be a little bit behind them if they keep losing these rounds, as Neon Rangers are looking so dominant here. Although they've lost this man advantage. 3 rounds on the board so far.
Ayo. Thinks it could have been a boost, but still manages to find a kill on Exeter. 2-man advantage now, Monte Carlo. Looks like the pain could be over. And these 4 spies look like they could pay off.
Robin here, just a Mac 10, 63 HP. Will be taken down by a headshot of the M4. I say that as he does find Hig Lane. AO takes down Lightning though, and now it's just Robin. Surely in too tough of a task here. With just a Mac 10. 3 opponents, 40 HP. Shadow's been spotted, and Somnium finds him. So Monte Carlo, they eventually win their first round here. And the money for Neon Rangers, as mentioned, has slightly been broken. And they're just going to be ecoing. Just a Deagle bought from Robin. The rest of the team haven't invested.
Yeah, we'll allow Monte Carlo to get back into this game. So it's such a risk if it doesn't work out. But Monte Carlo constantly trying to sort of force Neon Rangers' hand. And I think it was 3 force buys we saw in a row. And finally, the last one did work out. 3rd time's the charm.
And let's see how much impact it does really have. Obviously, Monte Carlo, they could have taken an eco. I believe they'd be in the same position as they are in now. They'd be on a stronger buy against a side who realistically have still got the 3 rounds. The one difference is, it's the money on Neon Rangers.
Oh, Higlane. Sorry, Somnium almost found 2 there. Great effort from him. And it was, luckily, the Neon Rangers Lightning, the one who fought him. One with the rifle. But that is a weapon mid that can be retrieved.
Obviously, they do have the man advantage, but a couple players have been chipped down here, and also the lack of utility, just the 2 flashes. Obviously, they can retrieve this Molotov. They do have another weapon in the ranks. Got to imagine Monte Carlo need to play this one to perfection, because not only do they need to find a frag to level things up, they're certainly going to want to get into an advantaged situation before we go into the execute.
It'll be interesting to see if we see any Monte Carlo players sort of take some control, take some aggression, so they can keep this gamble towards B. CJ will probably be the one who will likely do that, but it looks like he's going to be tasked with solo and A at this point, so it is a gamble. No information is on the side of Monte Carlo, but they're soon going to have it. Molotov is dropped. That's the last sort of bit of util that can stop any sort of push. And a 2-for-2 trade towards B is going to favour Neon Rangers, but look at the time.
Barely any remaining. Tap of the bomb here. 5 seconds. The bomb can go down here. Once again, a 1 versus 1 that we're seeing. He's going towards heaven. Might take Robin by surprise. Stays elevated here. Oh, I love this play. But Robin, he knows it's a fake. He knows it's the USP. CJ might fall here. Robin decided...
This is actually really well played from Robin.
And he finds it.
That is so worrying there. You can't sort of show an inch of yourself or CJ is dead there. So low HP. We've already seen Neon Rangers be in those situations before where somehow even the low HP does win it, and we saw it once again. Monte Carlo, Fred, what do they do here? They do all the force buys. They finally went around. They're the ones with the stronger weapons, and they don't win it. I was going to say, what do they do? They've gone for the force, but look, 5 pieces of utility throughout the whole team. Is that enough?
Surely not, but Somnium could have invested in some. Similarly with AO, could have bought 2 flashbangs. Seems as though they decided to keep a little bit of change in their pockets, but CJ finding a nice frag there, taking down S-Fade. Will get found by Exiva, but the AWP is still in play here for Monte Carlo. It is on Somnium. Oh, and that's a great find from Higlane. Somnium fires off that dangerous AWP shot as well, and instantly Monte Carlo have battled back here. Just Lightning remaining, questioning as to where his teammates have fallen.
There were a couple of players low HP. He has found the first of those, Higlane.
It's going to be tough, though. Although PinQ is low, Lightning's still going to be facing off against the full HP of AO and Somnium. And also to mention the AWP. First AWP of the game here, round 6.
Yeah, and normally in these situations you'd expect the AWP would solo. A lot of the time you can see it being done. If B's being pressured so heavily, you'd have the AWP just solo away because they can sort of get a shot back off or even just hold from a passive position. This is really cheeky from Monte Carlo. They've actually got 2 players towards A, and the AWP is still jump spotting. So even if the AWP does go down, surely PinQ is going to be baited in so heavily.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to be expecting a UMP here alongside the AK. And the jump spot, look at how much it's taken the attention away from PinQ. Lightning doesn't even question that there's a second player there. Because as you mentioned, B's been pressured heavily here from Neon Rangers. Surely they wouldn't... Well, you wouldn't put 2 players A in that situation. But no, Monte Carlo, once again, another great call for them. They will win their second round. It seems as though the calling from Monte Carlo is really strong. But they've always had problems regarding weaponry utility. I feel like this might be one of their strongest buys yet. Obviously, they've got the MP9 on CJ, but also they've got the AWP on Somnium, so potentially you could say they level one another out.
Both these teams love a force buy. Have we seen an eco?
I don't think so. No, we might know.
We have, which is pretty ridiculous. Round 7 of the game, neither of these teams have eco, so regardless of the scoreline, it's still a ridiculously close game. Somnium has progressed, but there's so many bodies who could just swing on him.
Oh, and this has gone from bad to worse here. Oh, and a paw spray from AO. We'll be able to find one, but you're expecting him to do much more than that. And Robin with a lovely double there to close out the round.
It's just so disappointing from Monte Carlo. Every time they do something right, make a perfect play to win them around, they do two things wrong in the next. They just have not been able to string these rounds together. That's why their buys have never been strong. There's always been some sort of limitation on it. And finally, Fred, we're going to be seeing our first sort of eco.
Yeah, taken to round 8 into doing so, but obviously that's because these rounds have been so back and forth. We saw that consistent force buy from Monte Carlo early on, but eventually they can't just keep giving up rounds, and I think that's why they have decided to eco in this one.
Yeah, I mean, they're on CTO outside of overpass. Already Neon Rangers have found 5. If they get one more, that's sort of a standard overpass.
I definitely wouldn't be too disappointed with 6, but there's still plenty more rounds to be played. Oh, Higlane spotted 1. Exever in a world of hurt here. He's surrounded by 4 opponents, but he's found 2 so far. Gets the 3rd. And surely AO has to find him. So much damage dealt so far. Kill needed to be converted. But Neon Rangers, a very dominant round from them. Yeah, we've still got what, eight more rounds after this one. 7, in fact. But you've got to expect, we need to see more from Monte Carlo. Obviously, we haven't even had a full buy yet. Oh, and SV surely going to take down AO. So can't even save that AK into the next.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think of these remaining rounds. Surely Neon Rangers is going to at least find 2, at least win the half of it. Monte Carlo have to play some near perfect Counter-Strike if there's any chance of them sort of winning this half. In fact,
yeah, and I think as well,
no defuse kit for Monte Carlo, so this one could be a bit of an issue.
I feel like we talk about that quite a lot. I feel like the lack of defuse kits have been so prevalent here. Maybe the teams are just confident with their sight holds, but yeah, I think Neon Rangers, we're expecting them to find 2 more, but I don't think they're going to be happy with that. Not to say an 8-7 half they wouldn't be proud of, but I'm thinking more. They've looked so dominant. Why can't they have more than 2? And I think they're certainly going to find it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about in the previous seasons, we've seen all these force buys from teams. We sort of question it a lot of the time because it is a risk. It really is. And obviously it worked for some of the teams that we've casted. I remember there's one on Ancient that we were really questioning and it really set them up to win the game. But here, when you're on the dominant side, you can't really go for too many of those force buys, especially if they're not working out perfectly, because we're seeing the sort of effect of when these constant forces don't work. Monte Carlo, they're 6-2 down on the favoured side of overpass.
Yeah, no, I think as well, the problem with forcing consistently on that CT side is, realistically, you've got weaker weapons. You're facing off against AKs. You're going to have to run a fairly strong setup, and usually that's going to require a gamble. And a gamble's always going to be a risk, because you're never going to know what your opponents are thinking. Whereas on the T side, you can rush it down with Mac 10s. You can play as a 5 with Tech 9s, because you are playing as a pack, and you have that slight advantage because you're playing aggressively. And I feel like when you're on that T side, you have a little bit more freedom when you go for those force buys, because even though you're on weaker weapons, let's say that they're running a 2-man B setup and you send it monster with 5, you're hoping at least maybe one person can survive and get the bomb down, and realistically, that might be a good enough job. But look at this, Neon Rangers, they've started off nicely here. The entrance to the site has been successful. They do lose 1 man in the process, but man advantage here for Neon Rangers. Monte Carlo, they might just have to go for this one.
Obviously, having 3 players surviving, they can get a buy in the next one, but they've done so much damage. Lightning and Ormoro are very low. The Orp in Heaven could get found. Insomnium does fall.
I don't know whether it's just me or did Lightning get dinked twice there?
It did look like it, which is pretty unlucky. There's not many times you're going to sort of double dink someone through a wall, but
especially with a rifle.
Yeah, but look at that, Fred, there. I mean, the thing I love is Neon Rangers, they do play some of my favourite forms of Counter-Strike. Just what we're seeing, these really late executes, and they are really risky if the timing's slightly off, if the trading's not good enough, you just lose the round. Just time is not on your side, but I absolutely adore that style of Counter-Strike. It's so fun to watch, but it is so risky as well. But that's why Neon Rangers are so far up. They're making these high-risk plays, and they are working out. And this one looks like it could be another Neon Rangers round, and that 8 that we were suspecting could be a guarantee here.
Yeah, it's a 2 versus 5. You really can't expect much from PingQ and Higlane. But yeah, you know, as you were saying, I feel like Monte Carlo, they've been conditioned here. We've seen a couple fast rounds from Neon Rangers, maybe 1 or 2 out of the 10. But I think the conditioning that Neon Rangers have put on Monte Carlo is they have to burn their util fast. If they're not throwing a Molly Monster, maybe even accompanied by a nade, plus the smoke towards Deep Monster as well, they're getting punished. They got punished a couple times with these fast plays, and Monte Carlo, in their mindset, when's the next fast round? You know, when's that going to happen? Is it going to be this one, or the next, then one after that? So they're consistently having to dump their util so early on, and then when it gets to the later stages of those rounds, when it does get to the times where Neon Rangers are going to be executing the site, we don't have those mollies, we don't have those smokes, and Monte Carlo really do need to hold off this aggression, because utility, when it comes down to it, generally is always going to be so much more beneficial when it comes to a site execute. Whichever team has more utility generally is going to be the one to take it, but Neon Rangers, as expected, are going to close this one out. Both defenders towards A. The bomb's going down. They really don't have enough time to play with this one.
And even if they're going for it, no defused kit's going to make things near impossible. Hig Lane's all that remains. Deagle and armor. He'd like to keep hold of it just so it doesn't really need to rebuy armor, I suppose. But he's a dead man walking. I thought we might see a cheeky knife, but certainly not. But the thing is, Fred, we've got 5 rounds left in this half. And Neon Rangers have already won it.
Are they gonna? I reckon they take 10 here.
I mean, it's certainly a possibility, but Monte Carlo, at this point, I'd be having a pause and saying, boys, we need to get all 5 of these rounds if there's any sort of possibility.
It's interesting that we haven't seen a pause yet. I feel like some teams sometimes do neglect the pause. They want to kind of keep the game going. They don't want to allow the team to have a break, but the enemy team to have a break. Then at the same time, you know, you're 8-2 down on one of the more dominant CT-sided maps in the pool. Something is going wrong here, and they need to find a solution. They can't just keep guessing here. Take a pause, let the team kind of regain focus, and then they might have a strong chance of bringing this one back. But obviously, as you mentioned before, Neon Rangers, they've taken the half here, and it's all about what more they can take.
Double long toilet setup from Monte Carlo. Seen so many times, this can really spell disaster for the T's.
It's all about whether they even expect it. Obviously, Exever has progressed through the smoke, will be met with the force of Hig Lane. If he can take him down the A site, they've got an avenue, but that could also bait in the long toilets player, so I guess either solution could work out for them. Obviously,
they look aware of this, actually. I think because they've had no contact anywhere else on A, I think they're aware. The swing long toilets and long toilet setup gets absolutely demolished. Nothing to say, but Hig Lane's here towards A as well. Can't really be a trade from Fade. He's not got enough health to really challenge that fight, so I think they'll have to let Hig Lane get one and back off. But still, man advantage from Neon Rangers.
And I think as well, even if they weren't 100% sure of it or even aware of it, I feel like the way Neon Rangers are playing is they're not taking any liberties. They're not just leaving something open. They are clearing out all these angles. And obviously, they're able to do that because they are playing this slow play style. Let's just make sure we clear every corner. We're not going to get killed from behind. And then you should be fine. Let's even take the round where we saw Hig Lane flanking. Flanked the player in con. And they still didn't get taken down when there was a player behind them. Obviously, I feel like that was slightly luck-based, but I'll take it. I'll claim it as a reason.
Really unfortunate there from Monte Carlo. They do have the kits. They've got a decent amount of util on AO. Obviously, you can't 100% be aware that 2 of these players are very low HP, but even if they are, they don't want to give this one a crack at all. They want to save these weapons. They want to have better chances in future rounds, but it is giving up 9 to Neon Rangers.
Yeah, only 82 points of health combined on all 3 Neon Rangers players. So I feel like it is tough. I feel like a lot of the damage obviously is unconfirmed. We saw a couple nades being thrown early towards lower connector, so they never can be sure of it. But at what point do they go for those types of rounds? They're 9-2 down here on the CT side of Overpass. You've eventually got to give those rounds a crack.
Yeah, it really has to be soon enough, sooner rather than later, because that you don't really want to let these rounds that are possible just completely go due to sort of having extra weapons in the previous rounds. You sort of just got to give them a go and hope that you can win them.
And I feel like
this game will be too far gone.
I feel like as well it could come down to a sheer lack of confidence. You know, Neon Rangers have been dominating this game so far. Oh, the shot there indicating his position. But I think, you know, it's a 2 versus 3. Even if the scoreline was fairly even, I feel like most teams would still have a little bit of a crack there. Obviously,
where was he shot from in short water?
I think he was shot deep outside Monster. The bullets came flying past his teammate's head.
That is really brutal. Great way to find the opening kill, though.
I feel like there have been some opportunities and some rounds that have been slightly, I don't want to say lucky. I hate the word lucky. I feel like teams aren't lucky. They're good. Potentially, you know, they just get unfortunate timing. But I think, yeah, I think in that round where they're pushing through short, they get bad timing. A stray bullet hits them. Information gathered. And I feel like it has happened a couple times here to Monte Carlo. They haven't had the best fortune, but I feel like it's Counter-Strike. You've got to be prepared for everything.
It certainly looks like a good round for Monte Carlo, though. Yes, CJ has found 2, makes it 3. Minimal bullets in the mag, but still finds Fade.
I did mention how, you know, timing in the previous round, CJ somehow not spotted there just as the player dropped down the ladder, so seemingly Monte Carlo have found a little bit of that timing that Neon Rangers have been using, but Amoro has been shot at, 8 seconds remaining. Oh, no need for the swing from Higlane. The bomb can be planted here. Will it go down, though, is the question. He's planting out in the open and waiting for Truck. 1 versus 2 now, but AO will find him. Nearly got a bit dicey. There was no need for that swing from the player back Dice. There's only 6 seconds remaining. Wait for him to get even closer.
You have to think for it. There was a 1 versus 4 from Amoro. He killed 2 and got a bomb plant for his team. So just sort of bolstering up the economy of Neon Rangers as well as taking 2 weapons out of the hands of Monte Carlo. So we're going to see really limited sort of finances in the reserves of Monte Carlo. Only 1 player is anything that significant in PingQ. So it will be interesting for future rounds how that sort of one decision will change the fate of Monte Carlo.
And although we're getting to the closest stages of the half, you really need to focus on your kind of main economy, because realistically, Monte Carlo lose this round, they're not getting a buy in the next. I feel like they probably would eco regardless, because, you know, there's only 1 round left, or 2 rounds left after this one. So it probably would make sense to give yourself a strong buy in at least one of them, but still, I feel like Monte Carlo, if they won that round with 4 players surviving, it wouldn't even matter if they lose this one. They can get a buy in the next, but... Oh, Robin, that is unfortunate for Somnium. Just trying to get some info, but loses his life in the process. Oh, Fade! So aware.
I don't know if he saw something of him or just had a great read due to the smoke, but that is perfect. 2-man advantage now, and Fade is so pushed up. Higlane had no idea. These weapons are going to be attempted to be saved, but look at this. There's a flank from Neon Rangers. PingQ looks aware, and he's aware enough to find the kill, keep himself and his teammate alive for now.
Yeah, obviously Robin getting that kill fairly recently. Fade throwing the weapons out the round. Obviously doesn't realise that both PingQ and AO have those upgraded rifles. Either way though, as expected, Neon Rangers do eventually find 10. It's interesting to have a game on Overpass where the T's can find 10. I feel like the only times you really ever see it is potentially on maps like Inferno, maybe Mirage, but still a real rarity.
I mean, a lot of the time we've seen Overpass games where teams have great T sides and they're finding 7 or 8. And we're thinking that's pretty amazing. You don't get much better than that. But Neon Rangers, clearly, they've really worked on their T side. Monte Carlo, they have made a few mistakes that have been costly. But you have to think, initially, this game was really close. It was coming down to so many 1v1s. I mean, Neon Rangers, they had 3 rounds that they won. That all came down to 1v1s in the first 5 rounds of the game. So it shows that it was a very close game, but just these slight mistakes in Counter-Strike. I mean, it's the nature of the game. That's what happens. These slight rounds, these slight decisions can be so costly.
Yeah, and I think as well, you've got to imagine the fact that Monte Carlo haven't been able to string these rounds together. Although they've only been able to find 3, it's a real problem with their economy. You know, even after winning a round, they're instantly getting punished. It just seems like as though they've been on the back foot this whole time. Maybe only had, you know, 3 real full buys in this half. Potentially that has come down to that consistent force buying early on.
There is a gamble here from Monte Carlo, though. 3 defenders on the B site with a flank from Somnium. He finds the first.
Oh, PingQ out in the open. Won't be able to get to the AWP of Lightning. Will take him down. Somnium swinging, but once again, the trades are coming through, but it's just Lightning now. Retrieve the AK with 52 seconds to play with. I do believe he knows both players are here. Heard the AK and the M4.
Certainly should now. There's a possibility Monte Carlo here could be giving Lightning 2 1 versus 1s.
Yeah, Lightning's got a lot of util to play with here. Obviously no smoke for the cross, but not going to be the biggest of his problems. Ayo, just jiggling. It's all about timing, but he spots the player and takes him down. And Monte Carlo, they do find a round, but their best chance of bringing this back, they're going to have to find round 15.
Yeah, and even then, it's going to be... It's by no means going to make it easy. Sort of thing, they've got to win 5 rounds on this first half, then win the pistol, and sort of have an electric T-side.
And I feel like a lot of teams will always favour this CT side. I feel like we have seen in times a couple teams do a lot stronger on the T side, but as you mentioned, a real rarity. No warp in play here for Lightning, so a little bit of a problem. Oh, Exeter gets the timing, finds Somnium. That's an opening kill for Neon Rangers. This 5th round has gotten that much harder here for Monte Carlo to obtain.
I mean, you touched on at the start of the game about, oh, that is a brutal way to go down. Exeter finds his second. As I was saying, you mentioned at the start of this game about how Overpass is a very exciting centric map, but Monte Carlo, I don't even know if they've had an all power, and if they have, it's surely not been more than 1 or 2, and that's going to be another reason why they just haven't been able to get nearly as many rounds as we would have hoped, just because it is such an all-dominated map, and you want this all power as frequently as possible.
Yeah, I do believe Somnium has had it a couple times, but clearly not been able to find so much success. Oh, Moro. Oh, he clears the angle, kind of half-checks it, and still finds the frag onto CJ. Unfortunate turn of events here for Neon Rangers. Or not for Neon Rangers, for Monte Carlo.
Far from unfortunate from the Rangers. Looking very good in this one, but you mentioned they've got to start attempting some of these clutches. I mean, they physically have to now. Last round of the half. Fade is behind, though. He spots some legs. Does he take anything down? He just causes nuisance. And Moro finds them both 11-4. You're not going to see a better T-side than that very often.
But Charlie, let's compare the kills here. They're not even that fair. Like, it's not even that much difference. Obviously, it seems as though on all the players for Neon Rangers are a couple kills ahead. But you're looking at this scoreboard. If we hide how many rounds each team has found, I feel like a lot of people would be guessing a kind of a 9-6 at best. But a lot of dominance here from Neon Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting point to really look at, but it is, like I mentioned at the start of the game, it was a very, very close contest. It felt like those first 6 rounds really could have went either team's way. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Neon Rangers 6-0 up or Monte Carlo 6-0 up. But it is just sometimes how these games go, and the force buys, they're something that, like I mentioned, we've seen it work out so many times before, but we really get to see the sort of other side of that coin.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely punished Monte Carlo early on. I feel like in the later stages of the game, it didn't have that much of an effect. They definitely were consistently force buying, though. Obviously, after they realized that it wasn't working out for them, potentially they should have changed it up a little, but they were just constantly force buying, and it meant, obviously, as you mentioned, a player like Somnium pretty much neglecting the AWP, consistently stuck on a rifle, and oh, Higlane found from Exeter very early on. You're all going to be seeing this A hit here. AO tasked with holding this flank Lightning towards toilets here. It is going to be this A hit. The flash comes through and Lightning finds one. They're aware of his position. He's trapped between 2. Might go down here to CJ, but Fade finds Somnium in the commotion. AO does take down Robin, so it is this 2 versus 3.
The bomb could get found here. The bomb is in between 2 players for now, but they are heading towards long. I was going to say it could be the safer of the 2, but Fade is in long toilets. Does get found by AO. Exeter could end this round here, and he certainly does with a clean 1-tap onto AO. The pistol round, something that was desperately needed by Monte Carlo, goes the way of Neon Rangers, and they really set themselves to take Overpass dominantly.
Yeah, and at what point, Charlie, do we kind of talk about this one being over? I feel like Neon Rangers, that was a great pistol round from them. So many clinical shots, just a consistent amount of 1-taps. I feel like most of them were just 1 bullet, 1 kill, apart from the first kill. And I feel like that, you know, once they're on the rifles, once the Lightning's got an AWP in hand, when do we call it?
I mean, I think this force buy is going to really sort of depend how this game goes. This is going to be Monte Carlo's last real chance, unless they decide to force till the end of the game. Right now, they are seeing that man disadvantage. Bomb is dropped towards mid, but I don't know if Neon Rangers have sight on that.
There's 2 kills, though. They have brought it back level. Very important here. Ooh, player out in the open, though, and Fade certainly going to take him down. Another player towards Party. Oh, they don't realise Fade's position. He will be able to find one against Ping Q here. Just dancing around Divider. Gets himself out of harm's way. Ping Q still leaning towards A. Slowly clearing out all of these angles. And both Fade and Omoro playing towards Heaven. I think they're going to swing off the bomb plant. Oh, Ping Q, knife in hand. He's not even that much more mobile with the knife comparison to the MP9. Especially when running at full speed. But either way, Neon Rangers, they find 13. And I think it is just going to be this force till the end, Charlie. Look, we instantly see more Monte Carlo bring out the rifles. And unlike Neon Rangers, they're not focusing on utility. Only 2 pieces, a smoke and a flash on CJ.
Molly's towards mid. They can't actually smoke this off. They have to run through it. And we already do see Somnium do that. But look at what it's done. It's split his team. No trade possibility. And the spam is perfect. CJ falls through the wall.
Yeah, and I feel like Monte Carlo, certainly not a great start for them. Their first season here in the Challenger Division. And they've certainly shown, or certainly been shown, what they're going to be facing in their games to come.
And this is another team that got promoted as well. This isn't a sort of standard Challenger Division team, but Neon Rangers certainly look like they're not out of place. They look absolutely sublime. 14-4. That was the second force buy we see from Monte Carlo. I mentioned we might just be seeing force until the end. Nothing's been invested yet, but obviously match point will be given up. It's just going to be a partial buy.
Still no pauses called. AO going for the Hero AK, obviously without head armor, and when facing against 4M4s, might be somewhat of a problem.
It is the Hero AK. Look at that, Fred. Look at the damage that the utility's done already.
Yeah, that is kind of ridiculous. Even the armored players now gonna get one tapped, saying that it is just Somnium, the only player who's taken damage that did invest in head armor, and there he drops. Big lane getting aggressive here. Very important round here for Monte Carlo. Find the kill, block the smoke as well. Little 2 for 1 there. The M4 can be retrieved, so they do have a second rifle in this round.
Yeah, still lack of util is going to make it really tough to break into any site. Lightning time is good to find one.
Yeah, man advantage back for Neon Rangers. Especially, they've got the weaponry, they've got the utility. Now they've got an extra player, but oh, Ping Q does find one, but instant trade. Robin gets 2. The flash is good. Takes down Higlane. And Neon Rangers, they find 15. They're on match point, and I feel like this could be the final round of the game, Charlie.
Yeah, last chance saloon feels like a bit of an understatement now for Monte Carlo. 11 rounds in a row needed just to bring us to overtime. Just have any sort of fighting chance back into this game. No mistakes can be made. You feel like it's inevitable.
Yeah, this one surely is all said and done. Strongest buy we've seen from Monte Carlo now. Oh, Ping Q. Luckily, only getting spammed down for 18. It seems as though the crosshair placement was perfect. Oh, that's a great find onto Exavert. On Morrow, 25 HP as well. S-Fade does find Higlane, though. Somnium, while blind, doing a little bit of damage to Lightning. Important find there from CJ. Somnium taking down Lightning as well. It's just on Robin and Omoro. Oh, and Omoro gets found. It's a 1 versus 4 here.
And B's going to be the play. Bit of a foot race here. Robin is aware of it, and he's made his way into heaven. Gets spotted, though.
Does have a Molotov. Could deny the plant here. Will go down. He misses the molly as well. Elevates. Oh, I say elevates himself on the railing. Just jumps out into the open, and CJ will take him down. Monte Carlo, they keep themselves alive here, but they're going to need 10 rounds in a row on the T side. surely too much of a difficult task for them.
Yeah, and the buy isn't even going to be that incredible. Higlane does have a Galil. Util on Somnium and Higlane is pretty weak, but they might get a bit of a freebie here. Neon Rangers are just on the pistol, so Monte Carlo have to make sure they can win this cleanly.
Yeah, definitely cannot. Oh, 3 kills. Surely this can't be the end here. Fade, 1 versus 1 now. In a ridiculous turn of events. Oh, and Fade, he's jumped across. CJ has seen him.
Sure, he's going in for more. Doesn't look the right way, though. CJ does salvage something, but I mentioned they have to win it cleanly. That's far from it.
Yeah, really the furthest from it. That is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, they've got a fair bit of money in the reserve, but still a very problematic round there for Monte Carlo. And that definitely got a little scary there. Pistol round coming down to a 1 versus 1.
PingQ does not want to peek out. In fact, he does. Yes, he finds a kill for his troubles.
Lightning here will be able to find Higlane. Second player towards middle as well. It is going to be this A hit here.
CJ's trying to see if he can find some control towards along. Neon Rangers have already found that, made their way back to this bomb site, so this could be too big a risk. He could just give up his life. There's no tradability at all.
Flashbang coming through. Oh, Fade, that's a lovely kill there. Lightning still towards Truck. Somnium eventually shows himself on the B-bomb side, but Robin takes him down. Oh, 2 versus 2 now. Robin and Fade. 10 HP of PingQ. Surely going to be tough.
It looks like he wanted to push through the smoke. You understand the reasoning. He's low HP, wanted to get some control, see if he can catch someone off, put his teammate in a 1 versus 1, but it's all on AO now.
And they're just going to swing together. They've made the noise, and surely they're going to find it, and Fade closes it out here for Neon Rangers, 16-6. This is where we saw the game ending, and that is absolutely ridiculous. Let's talk about the T side there for Neon Rangers. It looked so dominant. They were such a strong force here, and Monte Carlo consistently on that back foot, and we saw where the game ended up, and that was all due to that dominance that Neon Rangers showed on their T side. Overpass, clearly a map I would not want to face the Rangers on.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like I mentioned quite a few times now, it was a very close start to that game, but Neon Rangers, they really found their footing, and they just sort of started dominating from there, really, and it made it so challenging for Monte Carlo to even get their foot in the door. And by the time they even sort of started to get any rounds on the board, they were so far down. They were already facing a 10-round deficit, and eventually 11-4 half. It's going to be so challenging to come back from there. And then on top of that, Neon Rangers winning the pistol round on the CT side. By that point, I think we started to look at it and be like, yeah, this game's done. And you mentioned at the half that the kills were reasonably similar between the two teams. They weren't that far off. You look at the scoreboard now, and there's a significant difference. You've got players like S-Fade dropping 27 kills, top performer AO. He did have a few moments to shine, really, but it just wasn't enough. It wasn't a team performance like what we saw from Neon Rangers. It felt like there were so many things they were doing supported together. And overall, what a statement to make to enter the Challenger division.
And I think as well, obviously, the kill difference on the Neon Rangers side is 16. SV topping the leaderboard with 27, whereas Amora only able to find 11. But I feel like the kills certainly didn't represent how that team felt. It was just, a complete, synergized team. They were just one person. They were an entity, and they absolutely dominated against Monte Carlo. And I feel like if Neon Rangers can keep that up, it will certainly leave them in a great position when it comes to the end of the season. But talking about the season, Charlie, where does it leave these two teams in the league rankings?
Yeah, I mean, it's still obviously very early days for most of these teams in the league. A couple have played too, but for where it does leave these teams, obviously we are seeing the 1-0 from Neon Rangers, and they're sitting in a really healthy 4th position. Obviously, it's top 16, they're making it to playoffs, so that's a nice looking from them. Monte Carlo, they're 30th right now. Obviously, both of these teams only have played one game, so it's still really early in the season. Plenty of games left to play. Each team has 7 left, but what a starter look like from Neon Rangers and Monte Carlo. They definitely have a decent amount to work on, but still, early days, a lot can change.
As you said, obviously plenty more games to be seen here on the SCL. So if you guys are enjoying, make sure to drop a follow on the Twitch and also the Twitter so you get those constant updates about which games are being streamed and how the teams are doing so far. But that's been it from us. See you guys tomorrow. And yeah, goodbye.